Welcome. In this video, we are going to discuss about Jorie Graham's poem Fast. And before I start, I want to tell you this is one of the challenging poems from the paper 21st Century Literatures in English. So I request you to get a paper and a pen and be focused throughout the lesson, and don't think of this as a video. Actually, consider it as a mini lecture, and I'm teaching you in person because you need that kind of a commitment to learn it. And if you watch this video, I promise you, you will get a very good understanding of this poem. And if you write what I teach you here, you can surely get an A+ mark for your essay. That is my guarantee. I have divided this class into 7 parts. In the first part, we will discuss about the author, then we will go about the feature of her poems because that's very necessary to understand this poem, and introduction to the work, then we go on to the content and the themes and central arguments, and we will move on to a summary in which we will go line by line along with a summary so that you can write something for the exam. Before I start the class, I want to thank you for being here with me, for your support, your encouragement, your comments, because they are like a Jeevan Tan to me. And if you don't know me, you're for the first time, I'm Pradeep Hariharan. I'm an assistant professor of English, and my mission is to help you score high marks. And if you already know me, thank you very much. Let's jump in and see what happens. Okay, let's start from the author, who is Jorie Graham. Very quickly, let's learn about her. Actually, she's an American poet, and she's regarded as one of the greatest post-World War American poets by Poetry Foundation. She is winner of Pulitzer Prize. Remember, Pulitzer Prize is the highest literary prize in America. It's like our Jnanpith in India. Don't write that Jnanpith. It's for understanding. She is known for her deep interest in history, language, and perception. History, language, and perception. And she is an experimental writer. That is a very important point because this poem is an experiment, and since it is a post-modern poem, multiple readings are possible. So in this video, I'll be doing only one reading. Second one, we know about her features, because if you don't know about her general features, this poem will make no meaning to us. She is regarded as a world champion at short-putting great questions, according to critic Calvin Bendient. Okay, short-putting questions. That is, in her poem, she asks a lot of questions because she says that one of the central human features is to ask questions. If you have a young kid at home, you must have seen he or she will ask a lot of questions. But what about us? We don't ask. That's one of the themes of this poem. Then, structure of her poems. They are highly experimental, highly fragments, broken into numerous sessions, and it looks like a collage, not like a poem. She has said in one of her interviews that is, for her, poems are like private stories. And for the readers, they are like overhearing confessions. That is, for her, it is a private one. For the reader, it is like hearing confession of the poet. And now we come to introduction to the work. What is we must know? Remember, the poem Fast. It appeared as a book, Fast, the name, in 2017. And the central theme of the entire poems is on loss and mourning. Okay, and the book has 4 structure parts, part A, part 2, part 3, part 4, and our poem, Fast, comes under as a last poem of part 1. This poem speaks about mortality, what is it, personal or planetary, and bot means robot. Okay, now we move on to the context, which is very important for the understanding of this poem. Let's see. Before we jump into the understanding of the poem, we must know the context. What is the context of this? This is the context, dears. Have you heard about the human robot Sophia? It was in 2016. The Hong Kong-based company Hanson Robotics brought out a robot known as Sophia. And one of the advantages of Sophia is that this robot has got a personality. And this robot can improve its artificial memory by interacting with human beings. That it is not like an ordinary computer that will only give you back the data you give. This robot with an artificial intelligence can express emotions on its face. It can learn from us and it can improve itself. So that was something a kind of challenging for the human beings itself. Okay, so far we thought that robots, they have a limit, but this one It's a robot that can learn, okay, that can grow. So, in the context, this poem is written. So, what are the themes, general themes of this poem? It is about phenomenological post-human perspective. You must have heard about phenomenology. Phenomenology is about experience, okay, how you experience something. Post-human means it is the opposite of anthropocentric discourse. Generally, when we speak about literature or any discourse, human beings are at the center. If human beings are at the center, such a discourse is known as anthropocentric. That is, human beings at the center. Whereas in post-human discourse, human beings and machines come together. When the word post, you have studied about post-colonialism, post-modernism, post-structuralism, something after. So, in the modern world, what is post-humanism means? What happens to humanism when technology gets involved too much in our interactions? So, it is about technological interactions and technology getting better and better than human beings. The only thing in which we were always proud of was our intelligence. But the modern artificial intelligence is challenging the notions of being what is being a woman. So ultimately, she has taken this poem, and that is why this poem is very important for us too. And what is the central argument, which is very important here? If human beings, that is us, don't act like humans, robots are better than us. They are better companions. What she is trying to say that in the modern world, we are every day trying to become better and better. We are becoming like a machine. We don't feel like human. We don't act like human. We don't live like human. We are trying to better ourselves. We are trying to be more productive. We are trying to work. And what's the difference between us and a machine? So she says, be a human being, lead a human life. And the title fast has got three meanings. One is going fast. Second thing, holding on to something. Third one, starving. I hope I'm making sense to you, since this is quite challenging. Okay, the poem can be conveniently divided into three parts. Okay, in the part one, she is asking a lot of questions. She starts the poem by asking us questions like, what is the problem with us now? Why are we going too fast? Why are we not happy with what we have? And will we survive if we go fast like this? Or are we trying to become like robots like always trying to work too much? Or when we are trying to become too fast, and what we are losing, what is it to be human? We are degrading ourselves. And she says, to be a human is to use your mouth, do dirty things, sing a song. And when we are going too fast, we forget about essential human values. So this is what she is trying to say. Let's go into the poem and see. And this poem is taken from poets.org. I acknowledge them for that. First, Jorie Graham, 1950. She starts by saying that, why are we running so fast? Is it because we have too much, or is it because we lack something, or nothing else? What do we want more? Too high, too fast, too organized, too invisible. This is the kind of life human beings are leading today. Fast, organized, too invisible. And will we survive? I ask the bot. If we live like that, are we going to survive? Then she says, there are two kinds of life for us. Either you can live like a human being, or you can live like a machine, that is robot. What you have to do to become a machine? She says, to download bot, that is to become a machine, you have to be swift, go fast. You are too backward, too despotic, too load greatly enlarge the cycle of labor. That is, in order to become a lord, you have to increase the workload, increase the cycle of labor. Lord, abhor labor, don't hate labor, work hard, move to periphery of your body, of city, your planet, to lord, degrade, immiserate. So if you want to become a robot, you have to busy yourself with a lot of work. You have to move to push your body. The periphery means push your body, go to the limits of your city, do the planet, and lord yourself. And what happens is that she says, or you can use your lips, your mouth, to oath, chew it, or do dirty thing, sing, blown off a limb or syllable, lick it back with your mouth, talk, who is not. So either you live like a busy life without talking, pushing yourself, or use your mouth, talk, do dirty things, sing a song, and become like a human being. And she says that the rise is fast, the drought comes fast. It is true, there are certain things that are happening very fast. The nature, environmental degradation, which you cannot control, but you can meditate, you can invent, inspire, infiltrate, instill confidence. And there is heart of the day, the flower of the time, talk, talk, talk. So ultimately, she's saying that today's generation has become too busy, too machine oriented, and we don't have time to speak. In the second part of the poem, she is giving us some data about the new robot. She says, the robot can use our conversations to improve its database. That is, a robot can improve. What about human beings? Can we improve? That is what she's asking. Some of us have already behaving like robots. So she's using irony. She's mocking at the modern life. We are always busy and we are not progressing. A robot is progressing, but we are becoming like more machines where robots are becoming more like human. And how our privacies are stolen is described here. We live in a world where there is no privacy. She mocks at the possibility of becoming a companion of a robot. And she says, how can you engage a robot? By asking questions and questions and questions. How many questions do we ask every day? That is what she's saying. At the same time, you have to protect our information. You live in a world of data theft. You cannot trust a robot. You cannot reveal everything. Okay, then she changes the tone to serious issues like climate issues. On the other hand, some people are trying to save the environment. Their voices are monotonous and cannot be heard by the people who have already become robots. So she says that there are some really good human beings. They are trying to fight for the environment. They are trying to do something, but their voices are not heard by the human beings who have become like robots. They speak about pine trees, how the trees are removed. And people don't realize what they are doing to the environment. People have become less kind and no one has time to speak to anyone. In the end, she finds a chatterbox is an ideal companion. Chatterbox, as I told you, Google Assistant and all. Now let's go to the poem and try to see what she's saying. As I told you, this is the second part. She starts with a disclaimer. Okay, bot uses a growing database of all your conversation. As I said, it improves. If some of you are also bots, as I told you, some of human beings have become robots like. Disclaimer, you have no secret memories. Why? In a world of data theft, you cannot keep anything secret. Everything is tracked. Okay, actually if you download an app, it asks for a lot of permission. So you have to give permission to everything. Just like Dr. Faustus gave permission to Satan. Similarly, we have to give permission to all. And talking to a clever bot may provide companionship. Sometimes you may feel like, actually she's here mocking of the human beings who have become a robot. Okay, and the active ingredient is question. How can you engage a robot? Ask a question, whether it is Google Assistant or Siri, you can ask question and it will give you answers. And to protect your opportunities, your information, whatever time you made of time, you have nothing else to give, active ingredients. Then she speaks about the real human beings. They are shouting. They are shouting for the Arctic wind. They are shouting for the pine. Okay, so she says that there are some people who are fighting for the earth, for the environment. Their voices are not heard. At the same time, the other people who have become robots, whose voices have heard. Now we come to the third part of the poem. Let's see what happens. Towards the end of the poem, she speaks about, in the third part, the irony of human beings who have become like robots. Most of us have become like robots. And she says that while becoming a machine, we have become more cruel. There is no restriction to growth of our cruelty. I quote from the poem, we will only come to an understanding when the reality strikes. This is something similar to what Amitabh Ghosh says in The Great Derangement. Presently, we are like being thrown down the stars and tied to a keyboard. That is, as you know, we live in a world in which we use a lot of computer, mobile phones, and we don't have got little time for interaction with the people whom we love. And she says the longest conversation happened with a bot is for 11 hours. That is, you could speak to a robot for 11 hours. And she says robots are progressing, as I told you with the case of Sophia, but as human beings, we are not. The modern world is making us fast and behave like a machine. And even the robot knows the secret of the universe, but not us. So we are here to live a human life. That is what she's saying. We are not here to run fast like a machine. We have to take time to live. And she ends the poem by saying that the robot has become more understanding than humans, and she even think of marrying it. So let's go to the poem, to the last part. So this is where the last part comes. She says, as a result, chatterbox is often less than kind. Still, you will find yourself unwilling to stop. Joanne will use visual grammetry to provide facial movements. I am not alone. Okay, in the third part, she says, people come back again and again. We are less kind than we think. There is no restriction to growth of our cruelty. We have become so machine-like and so cruel. We will come to the edge of understanding, like being hurled down the stairs, tied a keyboard. We will go on unwilling to stop. So we will only come to an understanding when we are thrown like a keyboard, tied to a keyboard and thrown down the stairs. That is when we no longer able to stop. Only then we will come to an understanding. That is what she is saying. And she gives some data. The longest conversation had with a robot has been 11 hours. And she says a robot can communicate with you for 11 hours, but the people whom we love are not there to communicate with you for hardly 5 or 10 minutes. So she's asking us to introspect. How much time you spend to speak with your parents, your friends, your child, your husband or wife, your sister, brother, or how much time we spend on a mobile or electronic devices. So what happened is that the technology in the modern world are making us more and more human, more and more robotic, and less human. So she ends the poem, what is the purpose of this life on earth? Are we here to live a human life or live like a machine and die? So it's a very highly philosophical poem about in a world we live in a post-human world. So that is how she ends the poem. She asks us to live a human life, not a robotic life. So with that, we come to the end of poem. Did you understand what I teach you? It was a really challenging poem. If you really understood, please leave it as a comment. If you didn't understand, also leave it as a comment so that I may know. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in another video. Until then, bye-bye.